Welcome to our conversation about introducing an estate planning conversation with your clients. We're really excited here today to share with you kind of a collaborative partnership between Encore Estate Plans and fpPathfinder, and some of the things that we can coordinate together that will allow you, the advisor, to deliver a great client experience on the estate planning conversations. My name is Matt Morse. I'm the CEO of Encore Estate Plans. I'm joined by Michael Lecours, who's the CEO of fpPathfinder, and joined by Mike Bennett, who's the head of estate planning operations here at Encore. And we are going to talk through a new resource that we've created specifically in partnership that will help your clients prepare for their thought process around their estate planning needs, that you, the advisor, are going to be able to help facilitate and help them think about and make good decisions. So want to hand it over to you, Michael Lecours, and the two Mikes will take the conversation from here as we talk about this capability and this piece that we've created for you to help out with your clients.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much. I got to say, this has been a great partnership over here. You guys have been building something really cool over here, and you're tapping into where we at FP Pathfinder see the industry starting to go towards. And so advisors, on what we're seeing is advisors are coming to us, and they're talking amongst each other about more ways that they can be providing value to their clients. And we saw a version of this start to really materialize a couple of years ago with tax planning. Like, it was out there.
Yep.
There weren't a lot of great tools, but now there's some really awesome things out there that's unlocking tax planning for financial advisors. And now we're starting to see this shift again, where advisors are looking at estate planning.
Yep.
And looking at that as a way to provide more value to their clients. And I think what you guys are doing with some of the guys that we've created already, there creates this really interesting synergy. What we find, I think what really brought us together over here was that advisors historically aren't having the kinds of estate planning conversations that they're starting to have nowadays. And
Yep.
You go back, like when I was really working closely with clients, the second that I started to get a whiff that there might be an estate planning need, I was just trying to refer that client to an attorney. And we all know what happens then. Like, they never connect, or there's this super large price tag that comes, and these big, gnarly estate planning issues just kind of sit there.
Yep.
And so it's interesting, you guys come up with the software, you help to build this over here, and with this partnership over here, this helps to bridge that gap and helps to give the advisor a couple of extra tools to help them have the conversation.
Yep.
So they're looking smart in front of their clients when they're talking about estate planning.
Yep, love it. And we're such fans of what FP Pathfinder's done and how you're enabling advisors here to help their clients think through these things, make the meeting times more effective and the conversations richer with their clients. And so the idea, as we've talked over the course of months, Michael, and just kind of found there's synergy. We're working with the same advisors that value comprehensive planning, that want to do the tax, want to do the estate planning, and want to deliver value. So super excited that we were able to collaborate on this. I'm sure there's more for us to come, but yeah, let's talk through what we've created here.
Yeah. So Mike and I and Chris on our team, we got together and we looked to see how can our tools come together. And what we're excited to introduce is this document here. It's called the Estate Planning Conversation Starter. And this is really designed to help advisors that are just getting started having estate planning conversations with their clients. And really, it's designed to show how you can use an FP Pathfinder checklist to start a conversation for somebody that needs to create an estate plan because they don't have one. And then once you kind of get some of those basic questions answered, that's when EncorEstate comes in. And so I guess we can start here. We'll kind of bounce around. But so let's imagine an advisor is meeting with a client and they know that this client doesn't have an estate plan. One of the first things that we do for our members is that we say, share with them a checklist. We're taking this particular checklist here. What issues should I consider before when creating my estate plan? And we're going to be making that available to anybody that's a user of EncorEstates for free, just to give it out there so that advisors can go through and use this to brush up on the rules or to show it to a client, to walk through it together and help to prime. I guess, Mike, help me out here.
Yeah.
You're
So
kind of getting
it's
preparing them for the estate plan itself.
well, and getting them to a place where it's not so overwhelming, and also putting the advisor in a position where they're helping their clients by giving them information without crossing the line of giving legal advice. When you're putting these checklists in front of them, you're demystifying the process, you're simplifying the process, and that's what the best financial planners do out there, is they make the complex simple. And so this is an Pathfinder. I mean, you guys do a wonderful job of doing this across several categories of financial planning. I mean, we're just hyper focused on this one, but it's it's a wonderful tool to get that conversation started and to help build momentum towards them actually getting it done.
Yeah. So I guess you and I, we kind of went through this over here, but when you look at an advisor that's having a conversation with a client that doesn't have an estate plan, where do you see folks generally getting tripped up?
Well, I think the hardest part is just that initial hurdle of getting started. And
Yeah,
then once they see, I mean, when it comes down to it, obviously estate planning has a lot of different ways that it can go. But when it comes to building a comprehensive trust-based estate plan, there's really only five major questions. Who's getting it? Your beneficiaries. How are they getting it? Is number two. Who's going to make financial decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself? Who's going to make healthcare decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself? And who's the guardian of any minor kids? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of if this, then that, and it can go 100 different directions. But when you really boil it down, those are the five major decisions.
yeah,
And so what we've tried to do is to dig into each one of those five major questions and break that down a little bit further. Again, just to make it not so overwhelming. And I think financial planners in general they're initially surprised, but then they become very accustomed to realizing, wow, I already have a lot of this information already on my client. And that really, really surprises them initially. And then they start to build a process around this where I feel like these checklists can be a great part of this process to get clients off their butts to get this done.
right. Yeah, that was interesting as we were looking at this. It was a matter of uh, where do the bottlenecks generally happen? Where does the client just get stuck? And I think one of the interesting things that happened as we were starting to figure out how does this all come together was, when do you actually put this checklist in front of a client? And when at first our theory was that this would go like somewhere in the process itself, but it actually moves up. It's early on in the process. And now different advisors are going to want to use these checklists in different ways to open up this estate planning conversation. Uh, but I found it really interesting where it's like advisors need help getting the client used to the conversation before they actually have the conversation. So one thing that uh, we worked on together were these templates of, let's put together a template where the advisor could attach that checklist and send it to the client before the client meeting and say, hey, you don't you need to create your estate plan. We're going to have a conversation about it. We have some tools that can help you with that. But the first thing we want you to do is just take a look at this checklist. Because Mike, you mentioned this. It was really interesting how a client might come in and then you ask them one of those questions of like,
Who
what
do you want to
happened?
be the guardian of your minor kids, for
Yeah, and all of a
example?
sudden they're like, "Well, geez, I don't know." Well, okay, there. Now we hit a roadblock, and it's 10 minutes into the meeting, and they're not ready to make decisions. But you send them the checklist beforehand, one of these where it covers those 5 questions and more, and you have them you ask them to talk with their spouse about it. Well, now when they come in and talk with you, they're saying like, "Hey, look, we have some questions about some parts of the estate plan, but we've been able to think about it for a couple of days," as opposed to them not giving it any thought on it until they walk into that meeting, expecting that you as the advisor have some magical way that you're going to help them figure out what needs to be listed.
And it's always amazing too when you're sitting there in front of clients who have not prepared on this, and you have that guardian question come up, and when the husband says, "Well, I want my sister to do it," and the wife just immediately glares at him, and it's fun. It's fun people watching, but it's not the type of conversation you want to be having in your office with your
Yeah,
clients.
right. Yeah. And so I know for myself, that's how I can make a real impact in a client meeting is it's not just the work that happens in the meeting itself. It's all the prep work that you can have the client do beforehand. Like the number of times I hear clients say, "Oh, I was thinking about this on my way up to the office to meet with you," or "I was thinking about this morning when I was looking at my calendar and I knew that we were going to meet." Right. So now we're giving them some more probing conversations or topics or questions to ask themselves before they meet. So, so the other part of this, Mike, was that you guys have this wonderful knowledge base of all of these articles that really go into the detail with clients. But with this conversation starter, we pulled together what we thought were the 4 or 5 most important articles that you guys put together and brought that up so that this really becomes a great resource, uh, not just using an FP Pathfinder content, but also the work that you guys have done.
Yeah, and again, you've hit the nail on the head. It's the getting the clients prepared for these conversations before they even walk in your door. And so, I mean, that very first resource on there is an introduction to estate planning, where it goes through those 5 major questions, but also gives examples from real life examples on, okay, well, what makes a good trustee, what makes a good healthcare agent, those types of things. Who are you, like, what are some things you can consider for a guardian? So that's all, and believe it or not, that's all in one page. We're a big fan of one pagers. Both of our companies are. It appears that we're big fans of those things because it's easy to digest.
Mm-hmm.
We try to put ourselves in the advisor's shoes and trying to present this stuff to the client. To what are your clients going to want, and how are we going to make you as advisors look good? That's our joint goal on these things. And then you can see, one of the other basic, well, it's a big question, but it's one that comes up very frequently, is like, when do I need a trust versus when do I need a will as the foundation of my estate plan? And so we have some different factors that you should consider on those types of things. So that way, again, you're providing information to the client without giving them legal advice. And so that's something we're very cognizant of those lines. And so it's wonderful to be able to bring this to the masses.
Yeah. So, is there anything that stands out to you when you're talking to a client about updating an estate plan? How does that conversation change?
Oh, I laugh because it's great that they have something in place, but as financial planners will absolutely attest to, if you ask your client, a brand new client, "Oh, well, have you done a financial plan?" They said, "Oh yeah, I did one 12 years ago." They don't have a financial plan. They had one. And it may very well be that some of those things are still valid today, but there's a good chance that some of them aren't, because life happens. And that's where we come in. And this is where we feel like financial planners are such an integral part and a great part of keeping these things up to date. And so you can see here with the factors, with this FP Pathfinder checklist here, some of the issues they should consider when it comes to updating an estate plan. I mean, what if you don't talk to your guardians anymore? What if you named a sibling who's a terrible parent themselves, and you wouldn't want to, manage, you're managing your kids? You have a trustee who's gone through bankruptcy recently. They can't manage their own finances, let alone yours. So there's a million different things that can go on. I always like to say that, I can do a perfect estate plan for somebody if I know three things about them. If I know when they're going to die, what their assets are going to be when they die, and what the tax laws will be in the year that they die. And so other than that, we've got it nailed. But it's, as you might imagine, we're going to bat 0 for 3 on those every single time. But knowing that we can easily adjust existing estate plans and triggering clients to realize that they need to update these things based on these checklists, it's huge. It's huge to be able to keep these things up to date.
And the other thing that I think that this helps to lead, like the natural transition then, is to help to take that estate plan, that existing one, even though it might be 12 years old, and model it out through your tools so that a client can actually see what it looks like when it's all put down onto one page. So I think that that creates like a nice comparison too, where you can get that one page summary and then walk through the checklist over here looking at the one page summary, not what they remember it to be in their head. And so that'll be interesting to see how that goes over as more advisors start putting those together in conversations.
I had an advisor earlier this week that just said, we did something like that for them, and the client's first reaction was, "Oh crap," and the advisor basically said, "Well, what do you mean, oh crap?" And they didn't realize how out of date things really were, and so it was something where "oh crap" was a good thing in this case because they uncovered an issue that they didn't realize they had.
Right.
They thought it said something completely different. And so by servicing this, it was a quick win for this advisor with this brand new client. And so it was something where we love being a part of that for the advisors that we serve.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of taking one more step back, this could be, we have another template over here as well for advisors looking for ways to talk to their clients to start the conversation about reviewing a plan. So here, what we have up here is the template that all advisors can access over here, where it's pretty easy for them to copy this, modify it as such. There's some optional language that we put in here about do you if you want to list that you're part of EncorEstates and you're going to use that and feature that, or maybe you want to keep EncorEstates as like your secret sauce to some extent. Maybe you want to link the actual checklist. Maybe you don't. But it's designed to make it pretty easy for an advisor to introduce an estate plan review so they don't have to sit there figuring out what they're going to be typing up themselves or struggling with that. There's templates out there that we put together to make it easy to start that conversation.
Well, and that goes to our joint mission, right, Michael? I mean, we're trying to make financial advisors' lives a lot easier,
Yeah.
and trying to make them look good. And yeah, it may not be perfect for what they want, but man, it's going to be a good start. You don't have to go recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
Just trying to make make their lives a little bit easier.
So just kind of wrapping this up over here, our partnership is really looking to do two things. We're looking to help make it easy to start conversations with clients that don't have a financial plan but need one. And we're looking to help advisors start conversations with clients that have an existing estate plan, but it's probably outdated. And so we put together this one pager here that took some of our best thinking, put it down on one page, made everything freely available. So if you're looking to talk to a client about creating an estate plan, we're giving away the checklist from fpPathfinder for free. There's also some really great content and knowledge-based articles from EncorEstate on the topic to drill deeper. Same goes for just updating an estate plan. We've gotten a great checklist over there that we've been using for a number of years. We're making that freely available to folks at EncorEstate. And then we've got more content that goes deeper from EncorEstate about how to have some of these more delicate conversations. On the right-hand side over here, we really go through exactly how advisors could be using this. It summarizes everything that we're talking about over here, about using this guide early on to remind yourself to use a checklist to start the planning conversation about estate planning. And there's a couple of different ways advisors could use it. Maybe they just want to use it as an internal tool. It's like their own secret sauce, saying, I'm going to just go through this checklist, figure out a couple of planning topics to raise with my client in the meeting. Maybe they want to slide it across the table with the client and use it as like an agenda itself. Or I think the best way is to email a version of this checklist to the client before the meeting. That way, when the client shows up to the meeting, they've already seen some of the questions. They're already talking about it with their spouse. So you don't have to worry about the whole meeting kind of going sideways because they don't know how to answer one of those early questions that Mike raised.
Oh, I love it. It's really excited to be partnering with you guys on this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you to both of you guys for putting the work together to collaborate, both resources from both ends of the spectrum here on what fpPathfinder is so good at doing and what we're good at doing at Encore. And so grateful. And it'll be fun to see how we evolve this as we're both fans of what each company's doing and how we can help more advisors together. So thanks again to both of you, Mike, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you checking this out. You can find this in both of our platforms and on the Encore side within our knowledge base. It'll be keyworded with fpPathfinder and the estate planning conversation starter. If you search that, and easily accessible. Excited to have you jump into it and give us feedback as we go. Thanks everybody for joining the conversation today.